We're going to talk today about the HEQSF qualification types. And I want to get you just to understand the importance of why you need to make the links between the rationale and justification, the comparability study that you're going to be doing, which Barbara will talk about, and the actual qualification type. Right, because my sense is that many of you have not realized that these different things are actually all interrelated. You cannot deal with them as separate components. There's a process, a thinking process that you need to work through. All right. So first of all, therefore, the important thing here is that what will flow from this is your purpose statement. Now, some of you have started the sentence and people ask, what is the purpose statement? This purpose statement is this, the sentence which many of you heard. It starts with, the purpose of this qualification is to do what? That statement tells you how this qualification is actually now going to be responding to the defined training needs based on your situation analysis. Okay. And if that statement is vague, people are going to immediately start asking, what is this qualification about? How is this qualification actually addressing the training needs? So that's why it's so important that at this point you need to be really clear on this. So there are three interrelated aspects here. So last time we spoke about the rationale and we said to you, and justification, we said to you, you need to think about this in terms of 5 different contexts. And we briefly unpacked those different contexts. Now, that could be a short course really on its own. Okay, we were just like hitting the highlights here because it's impossible in a session of 3 hours to cover all of that. But the important thing is that from the rationale, you need to ask yourself, why have we selected this particular HEQSF qualification type? And the answer to that question is not, we already have an advanced diploma, we now need another qualification. No. You are selecting this qualification because there has to be a training need in your industry, in your sectors, for this qualification. Okay? Because if you don't have such a need, why are people going to come onto this program to do what in this program that will add what kind of benefit to their life? All right, so it's really important, therefore, to think very critically about what this qualification is about. And I find that people don't even go to the HEQSF and read the actual descriptions in the HEQSF. That is your first point where you should start. What is the difference between a certificate, a 3-year degree, a 4-year degree, an advanced diploma, an honors degree, a postgraduate diploma? Are you clear on those differences? And are you responding, therefore, to the purpose and the characteristics as it's defined in the HEQSF? If not, go and have a look. The next thing is that you need to have evidence. Where's the evidence that clearly spells out this training need? Now, yes, I know, many people use national policy frameworks or national strategic documents, and I know in the case of nursing there are a whole host of those. Yes, that is absolutely, if you're working in industry, you're working in sectors where you have access to information of that kind, that's where you need to start. Okay, but then you need to go much deeper into it than just that, because that is just a point of departure. It's not, okay, that's we have, done, let's move on. No, what does it mean? The same as if you would be using statements from your CETAs. They come up with these broad statements. I've just been looking at the Diploma of Banking now. Artificial intelligence. Sounds great. But what does it mean for this diploma in banking? Where are you going to deal with that? Is it appropriate even for a diploma program? Okay, and if appropriate, what of it is appropriate? Those are the kinds of questions you need to ask. You must remember that the way industry defines it is very often tacit. Okay? And your role as a program developer is to translate that tacit knowledge into what does it mean for this program. So you're constantly finding yourself in a recontextualization process. You're dealing with industry, you're recontextualizing it for the purpose of the qualification and for the needs of the discipline, which means you've got to constantly work between the world of work and the discipline. The world of work and the discipline. Okay. Then the other important thing then is how will the chosen HEQSF qualification type actually address these needs? Okay? And remember just that obviously in doing a situation analysis, you're working with a range of stakeholders. So you can't just look at, okay, we have a professional body, they say is everything. Okay? They're just one of the stakeholders. So you therefore need to deal with other stakeholders as well, and you need to get their opinion. I mean, it's great also if you can get have a conversation with prospective students who would like to come onto this program, because that is really helpful information. These are people who have done qualifications in your field, who are already in the workplace, who are now experiencing on a daily basis the shortcomings of their knowledge and skills. Okay, and that's helpful because that tells you really what needs to be incorporated into the program. The other thing is also, I get the sense that people don't know what the skills ecosystem of their sectors actually look like. Okay, so if you're developing a qualification for the banking sector, take a bank, typically a bank, and go and look at how do people progress from lower levels to top levels in that organization. That's the ecosystem. And then compare that with another one and another one and another one. Then the ecosystem will start to emerge. Okay. I don't get a sense that everybody is very familiar with that. Okay. And that's what I said last time. You confronted, this is the problem in vocational professional qualifications, that you are always working, trying to fill a spot that is rather ill-defined. Okay? So your job is to try and get clarity on that. There's this loose fit between the world of work and higher education. You're in that middle, in that space. Okay. Just don't be complacent about the fact that, I actually don't know it and, it's fine, we'll just use this or we'll use that. No. Put effort in to find out, because that is your guarantee that your qualification ultimately is going to be successful and is actually going to address a real need that people have. All right. So these are just some things around the purpose statement that I thought that I would bring to your attention. A purpose statement always have aims and objectives. And those aims and objectives, don't confuse them with exit level outcomes, because they mean something different. Aims and objectives is what are you setting out to achieve with this qualification. That's what aims and objectives are about. Okay? So it's therefore approached from a teaching perspective, from you as a program developer. What are your aims and objectives that you are trying to achieve with this qualification? And that is very often then stated in your purpose statement. Okay, and it's informed, like I said earlier, by your situation analysis, by your stakeholder engagement, by the comparative analysis. Okay, so just to make this clear, I'm sorry if this text is a little small to you, but I just felt that it's important maybe just to step it down because the terminology very often confuses people. So at a program level, you'll have a purpose statement. Okay, and the purpose statement, therefore, is talking about in the aims and objectives, the actual academic rationale for this qualification. What is it that you're setting out to achieve? Okay, and that obviously has to be aligned to the HEQSF qualification type. It has to be aligned to the characteristics of the qualification. It's informed, like I said, by the situation analysis, the stakeholder engagement, your benchmarking exercise. But all at a program level. You're comparing this program with that program at another institution. Okay? You're looking at the aims and objectives of this program versus that program. If you're saying, making the statement like, we will be the only one offering this qualification in the Western Cape, because all the other institutions are doing something different, then I get this uneasy feeling. On the basis of what are you saying? Where is the analysis that actually shows that clearly? Okay. All right. So, once you've stated the objectives, aims and objectives, you're going to later on, once you've now clearly defined that, you're going to translate that into the exit level outcomes of the program. The exit level outcomes of the program goes along with the program design. Because there always has to be a logical connection between these are the subjects, okay? What we will do in this program, this is what we would expect of students to achieve. But again, this is at a program level. And logically, you should be, if you read the purpose statement and then look at the exit level outcomes and associated assessment criteria, that's the total package. That should tell you, this is what this qualification is about, this is what these students are required to achieve, this is how the program will be structured. Because the next thing that they will look at is the actual program design. The subjects you have, the number of subjects, the credit values, etc., etc. Okay, so at the subject level then, once you have that in place, then you get to the individual subjects where you will have learning outcomes per subject with associated assessment criteria, which you will then translate into teaching events and learning events and assessment. So this is at your subject level where your delivery takes place. This is at your program level where your design takes place against a particular need. All right, is that clear for everyone? All right, so don't get it mixed up and confused with the terminology. All right, so I thought that I'll use a statement. I'm not going to say whose statement it is, but this is one that was submitted. I'm sure that the person or people who submitted this will be able to recognize this statement. So I want you just to read through that quickly. Okay, the purpose of the postgraduate diploma in this field of study is to offer a local, national, internationally recognized academic qualification with content that is relevant in terms of South African and international credits. Okay, anybody got any idea? Which field are we in? That statement can virtually appear in any purpose statement of any qualification because it's so broad, it's applicable to everything. Okay, that cannot be a purpose statement. That might be one of your aims and objectives of what you want. You want to ensure that the qualification is comparable with international standards, international trends, etc. But the statement itself doesn't even tell me which field it is. So that's hugely problematic. The second sentence worries me also. The content of this program is rooted in well-founded academic research and internationally benchmarked theory and practices. Okay, just the fact that the word content is used here makes me worry that, okay, we're going to see a very teacher-centered approach unfolding here. Students are going to be, this is in transmission mode. It's all about the subject content. It's not about learning, it's about the content. Okay, is this appropriate for a postgraduate diploma? Surely not. Okay, so my comments therefore are, what are these needs? Nowhere defined. How do these needs differ at a national and international level? Okay, why is it important to incorporate international needs in this program if international then features here in the purpose statement? Why is that important? Do you potentially have students who leave South Africa and work with large corporations internationally, and so they might not be based in South Africa, and you need to make provision for that? Couldn't find information around. Okay. Then the other thing about the content is the fact that in a purpose statement, reference should be made to the aims and objectives of the qualification, not to the subject content. So, define your aims and objectives first clearly, and then the program design will tell you what actually will be covered in this program. But that should not be in your purpose statement. Okay, and try not use the word content here, because you're already now putting out a particular philosophical position, which I think is going to be problematic for a postgraduate diploma. Okay, you see what I mean? All right. All right, so let's look for a minute at the different qualification types and their purposes. Okay, Lisa Wheeler-Han, in some of her research, says that the first important thing that you need to do is you need to ask yourself the question, is this qualification leaning more towards conceptual, theoretical, disciplinary knowledge, or is this qualification responding to actual practice? Okay. An academic qualification, typically, if you would take, for example, a BA or a BCom or a BSc, the purpose of that qualification is to induct students into the body of knowledge organized through academic disciplines. So you're going to do physics, and you're going to do chemistry, and you're going to do this, and you're going to do that. These are all disciplines, and we're inducting you into these disciplines, because these disciplines and the principles to these disciplines is what you need to know as a foundation. Where vocational qualifications and professional qualifications induct students into the field of practice. So it's more important to ask, therefore, what is the actual practice? Where are you going to find that practice? You will find that practice in industry. Investigate that practice in the companies where students potentially will be working, or in hospitals, or in clinics, or in a school, or wherever. Okay, where is this practice taking place, and then what is it that students need to do and know and be in order to perform this practice? Okay, so it's not about listing all the disciplines. Yes, that is important. But your point of departure is at the site of practice. That's where you start. Okay. So, if we relate this now to the qualification pathways in the HEQSF. Okay, first of all, the HEQSF states clearly that these pathways aren't categorically defined. Okay? And you will find qualifications, that might be professional in nature, that might be leaning more towards a general formative type qualification, and you might have ones that lean more to a vocational type qualification. So it's not that you trapped in a pathway, okay, and I'll show that to you just now. Qualifications, depending on the nature and the purpose of qualification, will be positioned along a continuum. And this is what you can see at the bottom here as well. There's a continuum. This is from education. So, in my opinion, the diploma in childhood care is here. It's not here. It's here. Okay. Why am I saying that? First of all, it's a diploma. According to the legislation, it's a diploma. Secondly, the actual applicants who will be coming into this program are people who are coming into this program from practice, who've been in practice for many years, who now need to be upskilled. Okay, so they're entering into higher education, most of them for the first time in their life. Okay. So, the focus, therefore, is not the same as that of what you will have in a BA degree. Now, you have this space in the middle, okay, where we have the postgraduate diploma on higher education in teaching and learning, which is what you typically can, all of you can do. You can enroll for a postgraduate diploma because you're a higher education teacher. So what are your expectations? You already have an undergraduate qualification or postgraduate qualifications in your field of study. But you don't necessarily have a qualification in education. You don't have a qualification in higher education. So what are your expectations? I want to become a better teacher. How do I do that? That's your expectation. But yet it's you in a profession. This is a profession you are in. Okay. And so therefore, this is a much higher level. The stakes are much higher. Okay. And therefore, it's far more appropriate to have a qualification of that nature as a professional qualification. But the coloring here gives you a clear indication that on this side, as I had it in this slide, on the left-hand side is the theory, the discipline. On the right-hand side is the practice. Okay? So this space is blue. This space is red. Can you now see if you translate that to here? This space is more about theoretical knowledge, inducting into the discipline. This is more about what should I know in order to do this in practice. Okay. And in the middle space is where you have a mix of these. You have a blend, and the difficulty is to determine what should that blend be. How much time do I still have? Oh, okay. All right. So I think this slide therefore shows you that your job is to recontextualize all the time between discipline, practice, discipline, practice, in order to get the mix right of the actual knowledge and skills that need to be captured in this program. Okay, so in terms of the actual qualification types, these are color-coded so that you can see. Typically on this side, they will be more theoretical, more disciplinary orientated, where on that side they would be more practice-based. And therefore, if you're dealing with a postgraduate diploma, you need to ask yourself, what field am I in? What is appropriate for this field? Is my field more vocational in nature, or is my field more professional in nature? Do people who would have completed this qualification have a recognized professional status in industry? If the answer to that question is yes, then it sits more to this side. If the answer to that question is, I don't know, it sits there. It's going to depend on the individual. The company is going to decide what position they're going to be appointed and what they're going to be doing, because it's not recognized. Okay, and that makes a big difference. So if you typically work with nursing where there's standards and where there are scope of practice clearly defined, okay, it's clear that it's a professional qualification. It's clear that it's going to lean more towards theoretical knowledge in a narrow area of specialization. But if you're doing a postgraduate diploma in clothing and textiles, well, we've got the manufacturing industry, we've got the retail industry, we've got a zillion in different positions in these companies, none of them being the same, no professional status assigned to them virtually at all. If I'm a technologist at TFG and I'm a technologist in another company, I might not even be doing the same type of job. So, can you see? It's very vocational. All right. The other important matter, and I'm going to stop at this point, is just to show that why is it so important to start from the HEQSF, because of the fact that your articulation pathways are to a large extent then defined by this. Tell me, if you sit within a diploma, if you sit in a diploma that's very vocational in nature, is it logical to think that that individual can actually progress to 100% research-based master's degree? Where are they going to get that theory from? It's not going to be in your diploma. There's going to be a very small portion of it there, which is going to be contextualized to the needs of that diploma. It's not going to give them the disciplinary induction into the broader disciplinary knowledge. No. It's going to be contextualized disciplinary knowledge aimed at a particular or a range of occupations. So to expect of that person then to progress eventually to a master's degree that is 100% research-based, where people need to rely on theoretical knowledge, is almost impossible to achieve. Okay, but yet we have. This is a situation we're sitting with at CPUT. Okay. All right. The presentation is available to all of you. I think that the important thing is take your qualification types. I have used this slide before. This is at NQF level 8 to just compare a really stark contrast between what is expected of an honors, disciplinary based, to a professional diploma, practice based, and how it's defined actually in the HEQSF so that it makes that really clear. If you then go one step further and you work, for example, in engineering, where the departments have a standard from their professional body for their honours degree, and you start reading some of the stuff, and it says to consolidate and deepen the student's expertise in a particular discipline and to develop research capacity. It demands a high level of theoretical engagement and intellectual independence. Okay? You can see from the standard that it is based on the characteristics of an honours degree as defined in the HEQS. All right. I'm going to leave you with these questions. These, I think, are the important questions you need to consider. They're in the presentation. So what is the main purpose and objectives? What are your exit level outcomes? How does it link to your professional body requirements or to the level descriptors? And then from there, the decisions you need to make. What, from a program design perspective, is going to be core components, and what, from a program design perspective, will ultimately become areas of specialization, which typically could become electives within the program. All right.
Okay. There's a sort of a stunned silence. Yes, do you have a question?